All right, good morning, everyone. So today we're supposed to talk about week number 4 and week number 5, week number 5 and week number 6 lectures. But before that, I'd like to make some announcement. I know Vanessa got a question regarding the e-class announcement. Let me mention about an announcement very quickly, and I'll take your question. That's what I will do. So if you go to e-class, and I'm pretty sure you have received the email from me yesterday, and go under announcements, and the subjects about revised lab and programming test dates. You can definitely read the detail. We don't need to read it together, but let me highlight why you should really notice. Number one, we will have 2 labs in total for the course. So we're going to focus more on the lectures, just for the manual formulation and also proofs using the sequence calculus. That's something we're going to focus more. So in that case, I'll reduce the number of labs to be 2. And the final lab is going to be released on the week of March 21st. In that one, I'm going to try to give you some like a lightweight introduction to using the rodent tool for some manual proof, some interesting one to do something useful. That's for the lab. And for your programming test, since we are going to shift the focus more onto the lecture materials, I would like to give you guys some options. I hope that would be to your advantage, right? So number one, you can definitely still choose to really take the programming test as originally planned for the course. In that case, you will need to take it on Tuesday, March 29th, and it's likely to be in person in the prison lab since they got a rodent tool over there set up. So I think it'll be better to take it there. You can choose that option if you like. So in that case, there'll be as if no change to your curriculum, right? But if you actually feel more comfortable about maybe, since we don't really cover as many labs about the rodent tool, you would rather maybe try to show your ability to do the manual formulation and proofs in the exam or in the written test, I'm okay with that as well. I can be flexible in this regard. So for option number 2, you don't need to take 80 programming tests. In that case, your mark will just be replaced by the highest mark. So remember, we got 4 written tests. Their schedule will still be the same, no change on them. Either the four written tests and also the final in-person exam. If you choose option number 2, I will choose the highest mark from those 5 assessment and use it to replace your programming test mark for the 10%, right? You can either choose option number 1 or option number 2. However, I need your action to really tell me which option you will really like, right? So you're going to click on the survey here. Maybe I wouldn't show you the result because it's not anonymous. I need to know your name in order to set it up properly for you. Go to the survey and complete it. And you need to make sure you do this by next Friday, midnight. If I don't receive any response from you by the end of next Friday, in that case, I will assume you actually want to take the programming test, in which case I'll send you the details later to actually how to take the programming test. All right, so that's about what I want to say. You can also click on the link about the calendar, and then the date has been updated already. And Vanessa, if you got any follow-up, please.
Yeah, I know it's been like a lot of like moving the schedule around and whatever, but just for the sake of like, so the tutorials are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right?
The schedule lab, yeah, but for this course,
Yeah,
we
the
will
schedule lab,
actually,
sorry,
yeah,
yeah.
the schedule lab is actually held by the TA. You can just drop by to ask them maybe questions related to the
Yeah,
lecture. Yeah. Mhm.
okay. So I was just wondering if maybe you'd consider moving up the release of Lab 2, just so that we could have 2 full weeks of tutorial thingy before the programming test.
You're basically talking about lab 2 to really move that a little bit earlier. So you got two
Yeah,
full
like the
weeks for
week,
programming
yeah,
test.
like the week of the 15th.
Hmm.
If
So,
that, I don't know. I don't know if it's too much because like you've already moved it around a bunch, but
mhm.
I thought
So
I'd
I would say the programming, yeah, of course, it depends on how many people will actually choose this option over here. I would say for
yeah.
people who choose that option there, I'll be fair. At that point over there for the programming test, in that case, I will assume you definitely completed lab number 1 already, which I can
Mm-hmm.
already expect you to do something from Rodin. You can definitely create a project, create a machine, create a context, and really write down this mathematical specification and make sure these are the things that can be automatically discharged. And when I release lab number 2, Vanessa, how about this? This is something I can do. I can divide lab number 2 possibly into 2 parts. And I can say for part number 1, this is something we will cover first, and then part number 2. And for part number 1 is the one that's going to be covered in the programming test, if you're going to take it. That's what I can do. So rather than saying you have to really complete lab number 2 in a rush, in that case, you have to study the whole lab 2. That might be too much. I can see your concern. So what I can do is I can split that maybe into 2 parts, but I'll only cover the first part for lab number 2 in your actual programming test, because I can still cover your lab number 1 and number 2 ultimately in the exam. I can still do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
I think that might kind of help.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. But I think, have you already submitted your preference in the e-class?
No, because you said that it was just going to default to 1, right?
Oh, default to 1. I see. So
yeah, so I would choose 1. Like, I'd prefer to do the programming test.
Okay,
so
no problem. Okay,
I was just not going to answer it.
That's okay. That's okay. But Vanessa, well, if you don't mind, I think you'll be better if you can also, it's only going to be seen by me. So if you can just indicate what you really prefer.
Yeah, sure.
That'll be great.
No problem.
Yeah, no problem. If that's really your preferred option, we'll take that one. No problem.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so guys, I just want to say, for this one, for this option here, I really try to give everybody flexibility. If you really just prefer taking the programming test, no problem, take it. That wouldn't give you any advantage or disadvantage. On the other hand, if you prefer actually taking the not to take the programming test, but rather take the relevant question maybe on the actual exam or the written test, that's fine too. Right? So either way is fine. Patrick, go ahead. Question.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify about the wording.
Yes.
So you mentioned that it would be that if you chose option 2, that the programming test would be replaced by the highest mark between the written test and the exam.
Correct.
I was just wondering because I was just reading the sentence and it was pluralized. It said the highest marks, and I wasn't sure if it was a combination of the test and the exam.
Okay. Well,
it's just 1, right?
The reason that I say marks plural, because I thought, for example, if you got, I'm just saying, for example, if somebody got 64 as the highest mark, it's actually multiple mark rather than just a single mark. 64 like a plural, so that's why I would say it's a marks. That's what I meant.
I don't get it.
Anyway, how about this? I think you pretty much understood the right way. I mean, maybe people understood the right way. So basically, out of the 4 assessment, choose the one you got the highest grade.
Okay.
And then
it includes the final, right?
Includes the final. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Is weight taken into account?
No. I will. For example, I'm just saying. For example,
4 times as much.
No. That'll be too complicated for me, I'm afraid. So I'll just make it easy for all of us. So let's say, for example, right? Just for the sake of everybody to be 100% clear, I want you to be clear about what you're really committing to before you actually make a choice, right? Let's say written test number 1, written test number 2, written test number 3, written test number 4, exam, right? Let's say hypothetically. So let's say you got maybe, 35, and then you improve 60, maybe about 50, and then you got maybe 70, and then finally you got maybe, usually, right? Exam will be lower, usually. So let's say, for example, 56. In that case, I will replace your programming test by 70.
Perfect.
All right. Just make sure that's clear. All right, good. All right. I can see some question there from Elish. Can you talk about the possible strike? Well, I think it is a little bit difficult for me to say too much because I'm in the union, right? So guys, I would say for now, don't really worry too much, right? I would say, I don't want to say too much really. I think at the moment, just focus on your study, and I'm still going to release all the lectures in time as much as possible. And also we're going to have our assessment. So do what we should do. And then if you really need to come to that particular point, which I really don't want, I actually experienced the 2018 QP strike. I'm not sure if you guys were there. If for those of you who actually took a 1021 with me back in the winter 2019, I'm pretty sure you experienced the strike as well. It's not pleasant. I agree. But I would say if you really have to get to that point, that's decided by the union. In that case, I will try to reach out to you to give you some informal guidance about what we should really do, maybe during the strike, if that really happened. But also there are people saying that it's not going to happen that likely, right? That's all I can say. I don't want to give you any false hope or any false information. So I will just stick to whatever information that has been revealed. All right. Alrighty, so that's about the E-class announcement about programming tests. I hope that's clear to everybody. Just make sure you indicate your preference by the deadline, right? And for your lecture number 7, so this will be the final part of the lecture that's going to be covered by your coming written test number 3, right? So this will be covered as well, meaning that you will be able to ask me questions related to week number 7 lecture next Thursday. And then your written test number 3 is going to happen the Tuesday after, right? You can definitely look at the semester calendar. And don't really get the impression that we have moved a lot of deadline. Not really. Only for the lab and for the programming test. But for the weekly schedule and also for the written test schedule, they have been the same, right? So this will be covered by your written test number 3. And then tomorrow, I'll get in touch with you about the exact coverage for the test. So that will be at least 1 week beforehand. But if you have not been really following the weekly lectures, I would say definitely want to catch up as soon as possible. It's quite a bit of material that we have covered since the first written test. All right. And for your written test number 2, yeah, as I said, I'm going to reach out to you tomorrow about the coverage. I'll try to create some example question for you, just for you to get some idea, right? But again, you definitely should really prioritize the study for the entire material, rather than relying just on my example questions. They're only just examples.
Sorry, do you mean written test 3?
I definitely meant written test number 3. Absolutely. Thank you. You definitely don't want to redo it, right?
The second test.
You definitely want to redo it. No problem. Yeah, that's absolutely. Yeah.
No, thank you. I'm good.
Yeah, well, it's pretty clear. I really meant written test number 3. Sometimes what I wrote is not really what I meant. Yeah. Right, let's take a look at some questions here. If we choose not to do the programming test, can we get the material for the programming test? Of course, it's possible. Yes. I would say it depends on how long the grading might take. I think, yeah, that may be for the sake of preparing for you for the exam. Absolutely. I think that's fair request. Okay. Will we be at a disadvantage if we don't really do the programming test for the exam? Not necessarily disadvantage, but I would suggest this. Since I can definitely release the programming test material to you, so I would say also review it and do it by yourself, maybe before the exam. I think that way there, you'll be equally prepared compared with your fellow student who actually took the test, right? Okay. Yeah, I think that's good. I haven't thought about it, actually, so it's good that you reminded me. Yeah, I can definitely do that. Yeah. But for the exam, it's definitely possible that I might cover anything that's actually from the lab 1 and lab 2 as well. So please make sure you also review them. But I'm pretty sure you review your lab 1 already. For lab number 2, I'm going to release that in time and split that into 2 parts. All right, guys, any other questions or concerns you want to speak about? All right. All right. Yeah. Alrighty, let's now move on to the Google Doc question. I don't have that many, but I think some of them are just about catching typos in my illustration, which I really appreciate that you guys actually pay attention to the details that I did. I really I corrected the slides. I also corrected the notes already. Let me just mention them quickly. Right? I think one typo is about when we try to discharge the proof obligation for the deadlock freedom. I believe that one is in week number 5. Okay. If you actually go back there and then the first attempt over there, and for this particular rule, it should be quite obvious. It should not be monotonicity because we have chosen just the left disjunctive go to actually prove. So that should be ORR1. So if you re-download the iPad notes I already fixed that. I already actually corrected this one is not right. It should be ORR1. That's one typo. The other typo is also about deadlock freedom proof obligation. If you go to the slides where I listed about how the deadlock freedom proof obligation should be formulated, in that case, I put n larger than or equal to 0. That's actually wrong. It should be n larger than 0. But all the subsequent proof, the proof obligation was actually not wrong. Only this part over here, that was a typo. I fixed that already. So all you got to do, please just re-download your slides, re-download your notes, and you will see that. Right? I have got your final part of the lecture that's going to be released by early tomorrow. So you definitely got everything you need for your written test number 3. right? That's something you will see. But you should definitely catch up with the study if you have been out of the track for the course, right? It's time to go back on track. Right, and I got only 2 questions over here to clarify quickly. Okay, the question over here is about, is there a difference between K and also E, right? I would say later on for your written test, always maybe have the slides available. It's open book, so you can definitely feel free to look them up if you don't quite remember what exactly they are. For the exam, I would say I will talk about the exam. Some guidance maybe when we get closer to the end of the semester. Let's not worry about the exam just yet. Okay, but I think for the K and E, very quickly. Okay, if you go back to the definition, K is actually the effects for the init events, right? So you can think about this part over here is really about K. All right, and I'll talk about some fundamental difference in a moment. And also we got an E over here. That will be the effects for the events action. And of course, as you study week number 6 and later week number 7, we got another formal component called F, C, and also V, and then W. And this is the action for the concrete events in the context of refinements. So we started talking about refinement from week number 6 already. Just make sure you catch up with the idea and ask me for clarification. Maybe not this week. I don't see any question there. Maybe next week. All right. So that's the effects of concrete events. Right, and then what's really the fundamental difference over here? Right? So for example, these are the effects for the events action over here, right? So these are 2 examples for the initial model, right? So what's really the difference over here, fundamental difference? Remember we said before, for the init events, there is no notion about the pre-states, because all you do is to initialize the variables. That's all you do. So that means number 1, no notion of the pre-states. On the other hand, for the event action, like an E, there is a notion between the pre-states versus the post-states. That's difference number 1. Versus post-states. Right? Difference number 2. The way you define the actions for the event, for the init events over here, is to make sure on the right-hand side of the colon equal to operator, we said before, since there is no pre-states, so you just cannot refer to any variable. All you can refer to is, so the right-hand side of the colon operator can refer to constants and also some literal value, like a 0. Right? That's something we mentioned in the lecture. I'm just reiterating the points. And what about for the normal action for the events? In that case, you can refer to the right-hand side. You can see here we got variable, we got literal as well. We can also refer to constant if necessary. So the right-hand side of the colon equal to operator is can refer to variable, constants, and also literal, basically anything. Right? So that's really the difference. Right? It's a quick clarification, which I think is good, always to clarify. All right, any follow-up question to this about the difference between K and E over here? And of course, as you study about the first refinement for the bridge controller, you will see about F. All right. All right, seeing none, hearing none, let's now move on to the next one. All right, the next one here. Okay, let's see. When we talk about the formal components, the list of constant, list of axiom, etc., we talk about the guard over here. But isn't it possible that a single event has multiple guard? That indeed, that's the case. So that's why I also I also try to improve my slides slightly to address this. Let me show you exactly what I meant over here. If you re-download the slide, that's what you will see right now. Just don't keep the old version of the slides. Okay. So for example, if you look at this particular event over here, ML out, how many guard conditions do we have? We got 1 here, we got 1 here. You can also recall back to your lab number 1, when we try to define maybe the events for the deposit or the withdrawal. We also got multiple guarding conditions over there. So you definitely can get multiple guards conditions for each event, for sure. And for MLN, we got just one guard condition. It's a special case. But when we formulate it, your fellow student was right. We better do it also as a list, just pretty much like an invariant conditions and also axiom as well. So I fixed the slides to say, if I talk about the guard for ML out versus, so in that case, for ML out, oh, sorry, let me just clarify it further. So these two are the concrete version over here, right? The concrete version of the events. So that's why we're going to look at this one here. The concrete version for the guard should be H. Let me make it a little bit larger for you. Okay. So if you see for ML out, the guards will be A plus B less than D, C equals 0. Right? You can see it's a sequence over here. In that case, we got one guard and also another guard. And for MLN, we only got one guard. So that's why it's still a list over here, but it's only a single guarding condition. One more thing to mention, which we'll also see in week number 7 when we do the proof. So when you talk about the guards, we can definitely index them to say maybe guard. Let me just take this one for example. We got A plus B less than D, and also C equals 0. This is how we formulate it, right? But when you do the proofs, how do you actually formulate such guard? The way to really put individual guard conditions together is by using conjunction. It is saying that ML out will be enabled only if this is satisfied and this is also satisfied. Every guarding constraint in the list should be satisfied. So that means the proof, when you do the proofs, you should really say A plus B less than D and also C equals 0. This is something you will see when we try to prove the deadlock freedom in the refinement level this week towards the end. That's something you will see. All right. All right, guys, any follow-up for the clarification? Any? All right, hope everything is clear. And that's all I see in the Google Doc, right? Nothing very deep, but that's okay. So maybe you guys are still catching up, or maybe the lecture are already clear, so you don't need any clarification. Either way is okay. Okay. All right, I'm going to open the floor now. If you guys got any additional questions related to anything about the course, any lecture, any part, you can raise them. So will the written tests and the exam contain rodent or purely mathematical proofs? I think for your exam for sure, you definitely will get some question about the rodent, because rodent is actually covered in both labs, right? Lab number 1 and lab number 2 for the exam is for sure. For the written test, I don't think it's going to be for written test number 3, right? But for written test number 4, I believe that will be about the time that I also release lab number 2. So we might cover some about the rodent, but it's more like a E-class, like a multiple choice based. So I would say maybe when we get to the time when I need to release the preparation guide for written test number 4, I will confirm. But for sure for the exam, right? So for those of you who maybe decide not to take the programming test, that's okay. You just need to make sure when I release the actual test for everybody's benefits, in that case, still make sure you actually attempt the test, make sure you understand the material so that you can answer any relevant questions in the exam, right? Awesome, good. Well, again, let me emphasize, there should be no advantage or disadvantage if you really choose option 1 or option 2. Should be no, right? Just a little bit more flexibility about everybody, yeah. All right, guys, I'm gonna wait pause a little bit longer, so maybe you guys will get more questions next week. Maybe after you have gone through a little bit more materials, right? And as I said, by early tomorrow morning, or the latest early afternoon, I will definitely release the final bits for your week number 7 lecture. But I already released about 90 minutes so far. You can definitely study them. That wouldn't really delay your progress. But I'm going to put the remaining part tomorrow. Okay. And the idea will be we'll finish the refinements, finish the first refinements for the bridge controller this week. And then I would like to cover just one more refinements, and then we have to move on to other domain. in the beginning of the semester, I did mention that I was hoping that I was ambitious to really cover as many application domain as possible. But it turns out we might just be able to cover one more domain. I'll try to maybe do something that's also interesting for you to see how exactly the math can be useful for developing system. So we can get bridge controller, rather complete example with so many refinements, and we can see another example, most likely the file transfer protocol example. In that way, we can see two different examples to see how we can use the math. That'll be the takeaway for this course. That's my hope. We'll see.
So for written test 3, should
Yeah.
we expect, like, I don't really know how to ask this. Should we expect, like, sort of questions that are more like broken down in the sense of like, so we've been looking at the bridge controller, right? And there's
Yep.
all these like different steps and stuff.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't expect us on like written test 3 to be able to do like an entire
proof. Mhm.
Yeah. Or like, would you expect us to do an entire proof with all the steps, or would you expect us to sort of be
Mhm.
able to answer questions about the different
I see what you mean.
steps in the proof?
Mhm. Your base. Let me show you one example over here. For example, if you guys look at from week number 6, this proof over here, the notes. All right. For example, over here, I would say this one is rather linear, right? So this one just a few steps. That may not be what you're talking about. Maybe something like this over here, right? Of course, by applying the ORL, you are going to split the sequence into 2, and then you got to prove them independently. For written test number 3, you're not going to really do the complete proof like this because it will be difficult for you to actually do that, over E-class. It's definitely something I'd like to do on the exam. However, there is this other way for me to ask the question. For example, sorry about the rotation over here, right? So you should imagine that it's rotated counterclockwise, right? Just imagine that. I might give you maybe somewhere from the middle. I might just give you this guy over here. And then I ask you, what if we try to apply ORL? In that case, what would be the resulting sequence? So that's kind of similar to what you did in your written test number 2. So that'll be one possibility. Another possibility would be, I might just give you the entire proof tree over here. And then I might just maybe blank out some parts of the step over there and let you choose which inference rule should be filled in for that missing part, right? So in some way, you're not really required to do the complete proof from scratch, but you should really know how to read the proof and fill in the blanks. So that would be some possibility.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's what I can think on top of my head. I think, as I said, I'll try to give you guys some example questions. As usual, by the end of next Wednesday, I'll do that. But I'll let you know the coverage for the test first. Yeah, I don't think that it will be that easy for you to do some proof from scratch. That may not be something we'll do. I can say that, but I might just give you some partial proof. Maybe I want you to do some partial proof by yourself as well, but not the complete proof like this. Right?
Okay.
That's what I can say. Okay, good.
Could you also, like, I know in the like for written test 1 and 2,
yeah,
I think it was like 5 or 6 practice questions in like the thing. Would it be possible for you to give us more? because I have a really hard time, like, I can read the slides and like attend the lecture and understand stuff, but like unless I'm doing it, it's really hard for me to like wrap my head around it.
I can definitely try to give you some questions for sure. I cannot really guarantee because I kind of created from scratch. Since this is the first time teaching this course over E-class, right? To really do the assessment over E-class. I'll definitely try to give you guys some more questions if possible, that they might be tending to be the more like a conceptual checking question. But one thing I really want you guys to understand, I just cannot give you something that will mimic exactly what's going to happen in the written test. I hope that was understandable. Meanwhile, I can definitely give you more. I can see where you're coming from. I will try my best.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And I get it. Like, you can't give us like literally the same questions that are going to.
Well, actually, sometimes I might give you exactly the same question. I think that's what happened, almost like a previous. Right? But I'll see what I can do. Yeah, I definitely see your point.
Okay.
I'll try.
Okay, thank you.
No promise, but I'll try. Yeah, good. All right. So one more question here for Amir. The exam will be written correct. not on E-class. Yes. The exam, yeah. Since I said even before the reading week, it's actually going to be scheduled by the registrar office. It will be in person. Yes, for sure. I think most likely we have to go back to campus. Well, you guys already go back. I'll see you in some lecture room on campus. I don't know which one it is. So we would need to practice proof process and writing rodent syntax on paper. You know what? Let me confirm this part. It's a good question here, but I would say let's confirm this maybe in about the final few weeks, or maybe the final couple of weeks when we go there. But I would say most likely the proof I will expect you to do in the exam. One kind would definitely be the one we actually did on the lecture, which would be like a boxing the sequence and lay out the proof tree. That's that one for sure. To what extent I really want you to write in rodent syntax, I'll confirm with you, maybe on an exam guide later. Amir, does it make sense to you at this point? I hope. Awesome. Good. All right, guys, my final words for you before I let you go. Please catch up with the lecture. I'm also speaking to people who are not here, but listening to the recording. Please catch up with the lecture. It's really important. And as I promised, I'll definitely try to give you example questions and hopefully more. I really try. All right. Alrighty. You guys take care. And then stay safe, and then I'll see you next week, at least in the Q&A. But I still got my office hour today, 2 p.m., if you want to drop by. Alrighty, guys, take care. Have a good day. I'll see you very soon.